not winning 90% of your new business because you have some sort of incredible value.
I'm going to take a bit of a different angle.
I've got a budget this big. I'm going to give it to you because you have a really killer plan.
You give a Red Bull to a turtle, what do you expect?
I think that's a dead turtle. So let's move on to...
E-break.
Cheers.
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 Does your current premium finance company lock you into long-term agreements? That's because they don't want you talking to us. At IFS, we win your business the good old-fashioned way, with customer service. I know you don't always have to use a premium finance company, but when you do, you should use IFS. Cheers.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Digital Insurance Pint podcast. I'm your host, Tom Reid, and as always, I'm joined by my colleagues, Jeff Roy, CEO of Excalibur Insurance.
Welcome, Pinters.
Adam Mitchell, CEO of Mitch Insurance.
Hello.
And unfortunately, Steve Earle is not with us today. Rumor has it he's down with yet another case of diarrhea.
Unbelievable.
So today we are pleased to be joined by Carl Ziade, who is the co-founder and CEO of Gaya. Carl, how's it going?
Doing great. Excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I'd like to give a shout out to IFS Premium Finance for all their support. Thank you very much, guys.
Carl, maybe tell your story. Like, how did you, your origin story, how did you get to Gaya?
So I'm an immigrant, and I grew up in Beirut in Lebanon. I'm a computer engineer. I like to build stuff. I do have a chip in my shoulder in the sense that I want to be able to point and say, I built this. And so working for a big company didn't satisfy my thirst. And so did build a tech company before in the Middle East. I worked for also a very large consulting shop on the private equity side. And then I went to Stanford Business School to be located in Silicon Valley, where daring entrepreneurs are building the cool stuff in the world, etc. So I went there, and that's where I met my co-founder, Jean-Pierre. And he brings a similar, let's call it problem, which is we want to build. It's not enough. We have a chip on our shoulder. We want to be something and build great teams, great companies, bring a lot of value to, and create a lot of jobs. So we have similar backgrounds in that perspective. And we decided to build something, and we had no clue what to build. We had to find a problem first. And Gaya was not solving for an insurance problem initially. It was solving for a personal problem, and the solution for that problem was a car-sharing marketplace. It was COVID times. There was no cars around. Ubers were very expensive on Stanford campus, so we decided to build a Turo-like or a get-around-like experience, but only for Stanford students. And the way to scale it was community-centric in the future. So we built it. 6 months later, we discovered it doesn't work. There is no more money in that space. And so we pivoted into building a car loan refinancing platform, because Americans, they shop for car insurance, but they don't shop for their car loans. And we figured we would equip the insurance agent, to whom the leads are coming already for reshopping insurance, we would equip them with quick tools to refinance the car loans. And so we spent around a year building that. And it was good opportunity in my view, but terrible timing. The Fed rates were going up. And so there was no saving opportunity to be captured or arbitrage opportunity to be captured on the car loan side. And so we had to pivot, and we pivoted into a problem we had been facing for a year while working with the agencies. And that was data entry redundancy. Copy paste was the thing that most agents do on a day-to-day basis. It felt like APIs were 2 years away for the past 10 years. So every year you go to any conference, API, open API, that's a strategy, we can be integrated, less manual workflow. That was the spiel. And it felt like every year it was pushed out. And so we realized that there is a structural issue in the industry that it's okay for one to approach it from a different perspective. And that's where we started going with Gaya. And we're now really building towards that vision of a super agent, starting with a super copy, super paste tool that let them extract information from anywhere and autofill anywhere. In the US market, it's very relevant on the commercial line side and the personal line side, as agents spend a ton of time on the carrier portals filling quotes, which takes them on average an hour per account. And so we're bringing that now down, by 80% at least. agents and CSRs are loving it. I'm not sure yet of the applicability in the Canadian markets because you guys are more advanced from a structural perspective. You have your raters working, APIs flow well, but you have also other problems. But we're definitely using Jeff now and Sharif, who's been helping us a lot explore that market.
Oh, that's pretty fascinating. I love APIs are 2 years away, 10 years ago. Could be one of the best sentences I've ever heard. We're going to steal that one, but super cool backstory how you got into the insurance market. And I just want to kind of fast forward. Carl, you and I met at 101 Weston Labs. It's an accelerator to help insurtechs that help agencies and brokers with Broker Tech. Abhi Knight started at North Carolina. I just want to maybe share with the listeners how you came upon 101 Weston Labs and what it's done to help your company to refocus and build and make you better.
Yep. 101 Weston Lab is one of the insurtech accelerator that is focused on helping tech founders know and understand very well the independent agents and the independent agencies. And we went there with a Figma mockup. We didn't have a product fully ready to be used. We had great use cases where it was working, but it wasn't very much scalable yet. And that's when we first met Jeff. And 101 Weston Lab was very helpful in really helping us approach the industry as insiders. We don't come from insurance. It's not like I have 20 years and my dad was in insurance and I have all this network. No. But 101 Weston Lab accelerated that in every way for us. And now, like when we go to conferences, we literally have friends that feels like as if they have been seeing us for the past 10 years and they've seen us grow and they are contributing to our journey as if it was their very own baby. And that very authentic aspect of Gaya's formation, definitely 101 Weston Lab played a major part in it, if not the biggest part in it.
So, I mean, AI's probably got to be the buzzword of 2025, and we haven't even started the year yet. We're coming in with so much momentum, and I think everybody splashes it on their deck and their webpage and claims to be an expert. So
AI washing is the name of the game now, right?
AI washing, whitewashing, yeah. So, are you guys AI washing or are you legit? And how should we think about that?
So I think this question should be asked to users. I mean, and even if we are AI washers, I can't tell you that. Look, from a use case perspective, we know and we are part of a lot of groups where we hear of a lot of folks who are basically very lightly adding stuff that are applications of GPT, but rarely really being used. And from our perspective, we're very much focused on the use case. The use case today is that agents need to fill carrier portals, and the information is coming from a lot of other sources. So we needed to reinvent the traditional copy-paste into a super copy, super paste engine that can extract stuff, and that extraction is powered by AI. And then they want to autofill stuff, which is a combination of RPA and AI, because RPAs, they don't self-heal, because RPAs break often, and because also RPAs are usually built to mimic a human who is clicking with their mouse and moving the mouse from one field to another, which is something we don't do. With Gaya, it feels like one pass or last pass when you're logging into a platform and you see it autofill. So that kind of JavaScripting is present within Gaya, and it's a different philosophy on how to tackle websites, because we're not worried about anti-bot detection techniques, because Gaya is being used by a human, by an agent. And so, sorry, we went a bit too technical now, got excited, but I felt like it's a necessity given the question itself to highlight how Gaya is different.
Maybe a little more on what is Gaya, and is it? I mean, I see the site and the super copy, super paste, and what's the plain language way to think of that? And am I right to think that might be your first tip of the spear as to what you've released in market, but more coming?
So of course, there will be a lot more coming, and it's a great wedge. However, we're focused on that wedge for now. There's still a lot to be done to perfect the art of removing data entry redundancy when you go to all these portals that users take us into. And so on the personal line side, we're dominating now in the US. We have 150 plus carriers on home and auto, motorhomes, motorcycles, boats, etc. On the commercial lines, we also launched a lot of the lines like commercial auto, workers' comp, BOPs, cyber, etc. And we're able to have a lot of coverage because unlike the comparative raters that exist on the commercial line side, they are restricted by the carriers who don't have the tech infrastructure to surface their APIs or the political agreement that they want to surface the APIs and be on a comparative rater. And so Gaya is able to help agent on that side. For now, it's a tool that lets you autofill carrier portals. And make no mistake, filling carrier portals is 50% of what an agent does in the US.
Oh, it's a lot. Yeah. So it's taking it out of your AMS or BMS on the screen. So if it says name, address, age, driver license, etc., and copying it to a proverbial clipboard. And then inside the portal for the carrier, you're hitting paste and it's mapping, many to many, as opposed to going 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 for each. It saves you a dozen copy and paste or whatever amount of retyping.
Exactly. And where is the AI in all of that? That's like the initial question. Think about it this way. Historically, you need a human to be piping data out of an unstructured content, whether it's a declaration page, coming from your AMS, coming from an email, whatever. You need a human to be translating that into structured information, which is customer information, name, last name, email, phone number, household member details, car, vehicle details, property details, coverage details. So all of these needs to be very nicely structured. So that is something that now we're able to outsource to the language models that are able now, when they are very well fine-tuned and very well prompted, extract to a great level of detail everything needed so that you can go and fulfill a quote. Now, the fulfilling of a quote also involves understanding what each carrier is asking, how they are asking it, and in what format they are asking it. Some carriers will have the date of birth filled as month, day, year. Some of them month, day, year. Some of them, they take it the Canadian or French or European way.
And so the AI is navigating that different schema mismatch. Instead of 5 years ago, it would have been error. Exactly. Now it can navigate through the differences.
But you said it very nicely and very mathematically. It's a transformation that is no longer one-to-one, like the traditional copy and paste that's powered by Microsoft in 1973. Now it's a transformation that is many to many. So copy many things and paste many things.
Yeah, I trademarked that, by the way. I'm willing to license it, but that's a good idea. I only come up with so many of them. I need to monetize them all.
I bought the domain, Kat. I'm sorry, buddy. You should have been so busy asking questions. Right?
You were using Gaya. That helped you go faster, didn't it?
Gaya did it for me, right? No, I think one thing for our listeners we need to understand, for all our Canadian listeners, it is a shit show in the U.S. I hate to use that term, but if you're an agent, I feel really sorry for you because carriers will not give their book rates to comparative raters. They pull their rates off it because they don't want to write business. They make you go to a portal, and then some carriers in the portal, or even when you get 90% through, making them comp out just to avoid writing business. So if you get 10 or 15 carriers in the US, I know some people in some states have to go to 10 different portals to be able to get rates to quote somebody. So you can imagine the amount of time, people are 15, 20, 25 minutes, 45 minutes doing a quote for a client if you want to compare a bunch of rates. Whereas Gaya can go to multiple sites at multiple times, bring the prices back and do a lot of the work for you. Or again, if you're doing a policy change, save you 80% of the time by getting all those fields, copying and map it over. That's their superpower. And there's a real extreme problem in the US. It's not as bad up here. We have to thank our carriers up here. They may not have APIs, but at least they make their book rates available and we can actually rate comparatively and be accurate. So that's a problem that doesn't exist here. But I just want to clarify that because I don't think the Canadian agents, brokers know how bad it is down there. I do. I hear all the horror stories. And I'm in some of the therapy groups with the agents there, and it's pretty sad. So Carl's helping provide some therapy on it.
Yeah, good comments there, Jeff. I just wanted to point out that the reason you're getting accurate rates from your carriers is because of APIs. So we may not have APIs in Canada for everything, but we absolutely do have them. From a quote perspective, almost every carrier, is now fully integrated with real-time APIs on that front. So that's relative to the US is a significant hurdle. I don't think Canadian brokers would agree that their life is easy, but easier apparently. So, Carl, let's we've been talking about sort of what Gaya is, what Gaya does, what super copy paste is. How are your clients responding to this? What kind of feedback do you get from agents who are using Gaya?
So Gaia has been growing a lot on all the agencies we've been onboarding. I wouldn't say the word all, because of course you always have outliers, but the majority of agencies that we've onboarded, 90% of them, have been growingly using Gaia in their operations. Look, any tech platform that goes and tell you that, oh, you're going to use it, your life will change, it's not really true. You got to be investing in your process. You got to be investing in your change management. You got to be investing in pushing your people to get rid of the old habits. And that's one of the key factors in really streamlining and becoming efficient and productive. It's also an attitude change. It's also a mindset shift. And, Jeff, I've seen you in many mastermind groups where you go and lead with that, not only just talking about the latest techs out there, but before that, the process wins. And so from an agency perspective, the beta testers that have tested Gaia, and now that we've went out of beta, we have been seeing more and more their happiness with the product and their usage of it growing. And this is also very much evidenced by them sending us clients on a daily basis. On a daily basis, I have like 10 Calendly calls with different folks that I've never outbounded to. It's just folks that have been hearing about it from other agents that are part of a mastermind group, part of a carrier trip, or whatever it is. And that speaks a lot that what we have works. And what we have is solving for a deep problem. And we actually do not onboard clients that we judge do not have a deep problem. A lot of folks are attracted by shiny objects. Shiny object syndrome is a very prevalent problem in the insurance agent among insurance agents in the U.S. And it's very important for us to filter out the agencies that are just attracted by being impressed versus those who are deeply thinking about how to really and seriously streamline their business.
Hey, Carl, great answer, Carl. I'd just like to ask you quickly, you've got a large language model, and you brought some interesting points up about how your system is learning, how it's better than RPA. It's RPA with brains, where let's say the company's changed the portal for the 300th time, don't notify it, our RPA is broken. You have the ability to adjust, and you have an agile to adjust the system and learn on the fly, which I think is very unique. I don't think many people have a solution like yours. It could be one of the only ones in the insurance vertical. Maybe explain to your listeners how you do that. And then are you using one large language model like ChatGPT, Claude, or something like that, or one of the other models? Are you using a variety of models? Maybe explain to people, without being too proprietary, maybe how you're doing it.
For sure. Let me start with this nice anecdote that I faced with Jack Wingate from All Choice Insurance in North Carolina.
By the way, best beer in the business, Jack Wingate.
He does. I always ask myself, how much time does it take to maintain it? I have to check with one of those guys. Anyways, so for Jack, for example, we were onboarding him, and he copied from a jot form or a gravity form that he was using for the intake. So people fill in on their website some intake form, and then he gets it as email to a virtual agent or virtual assistant that again gets to go and quote on Erie or on any other carrier. So on that demo, he had someone that was with NatGen, National General. And then I was showing him Gaya super copy, super paste, and I was being a bit, of course, salesy. It's by design. I'm the founder of this company. I want to sell it to him. And then we went to paste on the Erie page. And one of the questions was, with who was the previous carrier? And in the option list, Gaya has selected a company called the GMAC. GMAC. And I panicked because I didn't know what the heck is GMAC. I thought that we actually shit the bed in a demo and we're about not to close anymore Jack. And then Jack looked at me and he's like, you have no clue, man, what your tool is capable of. GMAC is General Motor Insurance Company, which was then rebranded into NatGen. And so your AI is now way smarter than you. So it was actually the right selection. So this is just a quick anecdote around the capability of this tool. It's really putting together a lot of these language models that are out there, a lot of the open source one, a lot of the closed source one, that we, for the open source one, we can fork and further train, further fine tune. And for the open source one, that we can really have a great level of tuning and also prompting These are all used in combination depending on the use case, depending on the objective that we're trying to achieve, whether it's on a specific page within a carrier portal, whether it is for a specific use case, whether it's copying from a PDF, copying from a website, copying from an Accord. Accords are very tough to handle by design. And so all that stuff is being handled by Gaya. So it's like Gaya, think about it on the copy side as abstracting a lot of the existing LLMs. But make no mistake, Gaya didn't build an LLM from scratch. You need hundreds of millions to be doing all of that. And you need like 20, 30 sophisticated PhDs and postdocs that spend their early childhood developing AI tools on word to VAC and early days of births. But Gaya now is the tool that is applying. Basically, the best way to say it is we're sitting on the shoulders of giants and we're verticalizing it unapologetically to the insurance industry. We've seen a lot of developers developing for developers in the AI space. Everyone is building tools so that you can fine-tune your models, tools so that you can do something. But very few people are going after the ugly use cases, the unsexy use cases. I mean, but people think that unsexy is boring. And I said this in ITC as part of the broker tech session. Unsexy is just unsexy. It doesn't mean it's boring. It's very challenging to make sure that an agent in Kansas is able to adopt an AI product that will not be deterministic like traditional software. Traditional software, you want to move a button from here to here, it just moves. With AI, it's more probabilistic. It will move, but sometimes it might fail you. So we're experimenting on the front end with customers that are using Gaya and building empathy with the product that sometimes work more than expected, and sometimes, let's say 5% of the time, might choose not to build the VIN number for a deck page. So all of that is expected, and that kind of art is really managed by Gaya, building on top of a lot of the big LLMs that exist that we've been fine-tuning and building on top.
Wow, pretty cool. So in essence, it's like Coke. Coke didn't invent sugar, carbonated water, but they figured out how to put it together with the right formula. Or the Colonel Sanders with his chicken, he put all his different spices in there, right? So you're doing that, and you're leaping off everybody else, building your own and applying it to insurance.
Of course. And I'm sure KFC at the end now owns a lot of chicken farms, and probably Coca-Cola now manufactures sugar. And so at some point we will be releasing one of the first insurance-specific foundation models that are out there, and we're working on stuff like that. But and that's maybe coming back to Adam's question early on: is Gaya a wedge into something bigger? Look, I mean, we're here. My co-founder and I have ambitions to build a company that's as big as Salesforce, as big as Slack. We want to build a big company. We don't want to just build a niche, verticalized software, but for every big company, there is a chapter where you need to focus and obsess on your customers. And until we reach our first $10 million in revenue that is definitely feasible within this industry, we don't even think about that. We're very much laser focused on the insurance vertical, loving our customers and breathing their problems and putting ourselves in their shoes.
10 million in revenue in cut and paste?
Yeah, of course. 100%. 100%. Wow. It's weird to say, right?
Yeah.
But 100%. There is even more sizable than that.
Well, you know what? I mean, I think that's actually very reasonable. When you think about the amount of time and therefore money that insurance brokers in Canada and insurance agents in the US are spending doing human-based double entry, if you can get rid of that, there's dramatic savings to be had for the insurance distribution channel. So why shouldn't you take a piece of that, as payback? So
do we get into pricing on here?
We can, but let's talk about let's take your top quartile agent. If you think of somebody who's not the number one, but sort of top quartile, and you say, do you have a sense of how much time sort of per person they are saving per agent? Do you have a sense of how much, like on a weekly basis, monthly, whatever your metric is?
Yeah, for sure. So an average agent today is reducing their time to quote. The top quartile you're mentioning, the top quartile, is reducing their time to quote by 70 to 80% with Gaya. So if you want to think about it from a Canadian perspective, you guys already have the APIs. Good for you. It works. When you think about it from the American perspective, that's filling carrier portals. Think about going to 7 carriers to get 7 different quotes, so to choose the cheapest one for the same coverage. That's mind-numbing. It's like an hour. And we've been seeing a lot of agents reporting that now their CSRs are able to quote twice as much, sometimes even 2.5 to 3 times as much per day, thanks to Gaya's usage. And from that perspective, when you reflect on it's not a function of time saved, it's a function of how much more can you do. We know that the biggest problem in insurance is not even the copy-paste. The biggest problem is hiring, keeping your staff, retraining folks. It's a tough industry. And so if you can make a lot more from your existing staff, that's a big win. And that's why we're able to charge a lot for the product.
Hold on. Charge a lot. So we got to dig into that at some point. You can't leave us hanging on that of what sort of context do we have? I know it's not pasted on there, but how should we or users, depending on whether this stays in the episode or not, think about the pricing on it?
So Gaya is the most expensive browser extension that's out there today.
Yeah, I haven't paid any for anything so far, so that's a low bar. Like $2 would make you that. Like, what? How much is it?
Let me ask it another way. So Carl, let's say you said basically you're effectively doubling the number of staff for a broker, right, through this quoting process. And Adam, like, how many quotes does one of your team members do in a day, for sake of argument? 8?
Yeah, 10, 20.
Let's say 10, make a nice round number. So basically, the US guy is going from, let's say, on an equivalent basis, let's say his half is effective as Adam's team is at 5, so now he's going to 10. So he's probably selling another 1 to 2 policies per day.
More, because of more policies, you mean? Because of the...
Right, additional, incremental policies. So they were selling, let's say, 1 or 2 out of 5. Now they're selling 2 to 4 out of 10. Right? So he's selling 1 or 2 more policies at an average commission of a couple $100. So let's say an extra $300 per day per person. What percentage of that are you charging?
Like usually any software to win, you need to charge 10 to 20% of the value creation. And that's exactly what we charge. So your mental math, the right back of the envelope, it's exactly what we've done. But we can't have this conversation and say every time you close, we need to take 10%. You got to price it.
No, for sure. I mean, this was to get you in the ballpark of what the pricing is and doesn't make sense, right? So if you're giving somebody a benefit of 100 whatevers and you're taking 10 of those whatevers, Buddy's ROI is 90 whatevers, right? So effectively that's what you're doing, yeah?
Exactly. So what I mean, I don't mean the product is expensive. I mean as a browser extension, it's the most expensive browser extension that's out there. I mean, when you tell people browser extension, it feels like a small add-on, it doesn't feel like a product to them. So that's why, the reason why Gaya's form factor is a browser extension is because we learned that agents are tired of switching platforms and adopting platforms and getting trained on platforms. So we wanted to build something that works with you wherever you go. You want to go start a quote on Travelers? No problem. We can copy from it. You want to go paste into Erie? No problem. Chubb? No problem. Pure? And so that kind of versatility is only we're only capable of doing it if we actually work within the browser and are able to see what an agent sees. So it's like Gaya now equips every agency with a third eye for every user and also another pair of hands. So you can super copy en masse and super paste en masse, all while being smart about it.
Could walk us through, let's go through a really, give us a sample agency of roughly what it would cost. I think, and I'm not sure if it's proprietary pricing.
The starting pack for Gaya is $300 a month. That's like the starting pack for any agency of any size.
Per user? No,
not per user. For the agency, we don't charge per seats. We don't want to be tracking seats.
You don't charge per seat. Clever. I like it.
Finally, yeah. We're charging by agency size because an agency size reflects the level of activities they do on the quoting side. Because the quoting also means re-quoting, remarketing, policy change, to your point, Jeff, earlier for the Canadian market. And so Gaya is really a function of the premium size. And of course, it doesn't scale linearly, so at some point it will plateau. But the starting price is $300, and we have agencies at 20 million in premium paying $1,000, just to give you a quick sense of the pricing.
Here's the other tagline on it: it'll cost you more to do due diligence than just say yes and try it.
I just want to flip it over to Canada. I've been looking at your product going, gee, I want to bring this into Canada. Doing policy change really sucks in Canada. There's not really any API straight through processing. Steve Earle, it's too bad he's not here. He's struggling because he's got companies that allegedly have straight through processing that require his team to actually go in and check every part of the stage of the portal and click it just to verify it, which wastes an enormous amount of time. They were trying to work through it. But let's say in Canada, if we did a policy change using the CZO change form and printed that, your system would be smart enough to optically scan that PDF, grab all the fields, and go into our company portals and do the change, right? That's my dumb Jeff Roy version of, hey, I think we could use this in Canada. And if we put Gaya in place and everybody used it on change, every agency would save money right out of the gate getting it to work. Am I wrong or not?
No, absolutely. That's like the perfect description. You can go and upload any PDF, any email, any intake form, and it works on combination of files altogether. Gaya will do the part of extraction, and then Gaya will make it available on the extension for your folks to go, and instead of manually filling one by one, just super pasting with Gaya. It's literally an autofill function.
If I was running, say, a commercial management system like, say, a Quoti or something, and I wanted to be able to get rates out of the system and I didn't have an API, you could actually get your bot to put all the information in and turn a rate around, right? Am I missing something? That would actually be a super tool that something like a Nick Kidd could use to do that, right?
Yep. And we have a lot of agencies that are today in the US super pasting into Tarmica, SEMC, EasyLinks, PL Rater, Turbo Rater, a lot of these comparative raters. So by no means we're here to kind of compete with the comparative rater. I think APIs will always be there and they should be improving with time. It's just that structurally we feel that the industry will always be needing a solution that can go the extra mile. We have a lot of agencies that are very happy with their comparative raters as it bridges to the top 5 nationals. But then for the 3 mutuals that they have within their geographies, they are not on the raters. So they use Gaya as the last mile solution to copy from the rater, paste into the carriers, or to copy from the same origin source, the intake sheet, the deck page, and paste into the raters as well as paste into the carriers. Just a super copy, super paste machine. Go back to Adam's point around where this can go. As we continue perfecting the understanding of the insurance portals that we deal with, Gaya eventually will be like a smart system that you can start asking for it to do the full job without your presence. Whether it is, hey, I want you to go quote this guy for me, and then it will go and log into the carrier portals and do the job. So it's like a smart RPA. That's where we can be going in the next couple of years. The tech still needs a lot of work, and we're building the building blocks towards it. Filling websites is a core building block. The next step would be around moving around the websites, clicking on the next page, the previous page, getting information from other websites, etc. So all of that is definitely on the roadmap, and coupled with all the stuff that you can do once you actually leverage the clipboard as a data platform.
What about the idea of handing this tool to RPA bots? So like this feels, and I might be stacking things that don't stack well, but if I was a developer or whatever, developer working on, mapping left screen, right screen automation, it would seem like if I were getting my RPA or bots, whatever we wanted, to be using Gaya, this could be a really smart sort of level up.
Yeah, and we're having some folks that are tapping into our public APIs to do it. So I did start the call with a bit of a critique to the spiel of APIs are 2 years away for the past 10 years, but we're also like big fans of being very cloud native and API friendly. So everything that you copy with Gaya, you can access it through an API. If you have Salesforce and you want to update your Salesforce through an API connector, go right away. If you want to send data from your existing environment through an API to Gaya, you can. So you don't use the copy engine that Gaya has, but you want to just use the pasting engine. That's all very modular. And for the RPA's tech stack, like being on top of Gaya, we've been seeing it already happening with a few large brokerages that are now, for example, populating PDFs that are very tailor-made for themselves, and they would kind of build their own automation flows on top of Gaya extracting.
You talked a bit about the future for Gaya in terms of some product and whatnot. What about geographic expansion? I know Jeff's been talking about Gaya for a little while now, and usually that conversation ends with, yeah, but they're not available in Canada yet. So is Canada on your roadmap?
Absolutely. And we've been working a lot with the great founders and technologists in Canada, thanks to Jeff. I mean, if you're a friend with Jeff, you're going to become by design a friend to all the big thinkers in Canada on the tech side for insurance. So we've been working, as Jeff mentioned, on the policy change side of things. And we'll be definitely releasing something in the upcoming year. You might be launching this episode in the upcoming year. So we'll be launching something soon.
Carl, for those brokers, including Canadian brokers who may be interested in sort of checking out what you guys do, how can they get a sneak peek? How can they take a look on behind the curtain here?
Yeah, go to Gaya.ai, Gaya.ai, and there is a nice video that will show, 30-second video where you can experience what do we mean by super copy, super paste, and having you autofill portals automatically. You will see that you can copy from a website. You can see that you can paste into another website or a web form. You can see that you can upload a PDF, Gaya extract stuff from it, and then paste into another web form. You'll see all of that. And it's very intuitive. It's a browser extension, super copy, super paste. Again, I think I said it so many times. I feel like I brainwashed everyone. And so, but yeah, it is what it is.
I'll fire one. What's next? Where's the next part of the wedge?
Next part of the wedge. So we're seeing that more and more people want to build on top of Gaya. Once they copy something, they want to, for example, be able to pre-fill the invoices that they send, some of the EOIs that they release, the proposals that they want to build. And so people want to build stuff on top of Gaya, which is exciting because the more you build on top of something, the less you can live without it, which is, of course, the dream of every tech company, that their users are very dependable on it and very depending on it. And which makes us have to rise to the occasion of being a very good platform, a good technology. But we were at ITC a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things we found is that a lot of the tech vendors in the insurance space position themselves as platforms. We are a platform, and you can do X, Y, Z. And all the brokers that we've met tell us there is a lot of platforms, but we just want one part out of everyone. And so we're making sure that as we continue building, now we focus on the copy-paste, the browser extension, but as we go beyond that in the next couple of years, we want to make sure to build with a high sense of modularity, such that you can come to Gaya and buy different parts versus having to buy the entire car itself. And so that's something that, is a guiding principle for us as we build. There is a lot of cool stuff, but every agency have a different use case. So if you were to book some time with us, you would notice that it's not going to be us. It's true that the Calendly link mentioned demo call or onboarding call or whatever, but it's actually most of the time spent on the agent telling us how they work and us showing them exactly how Gaya will fit within their workflow.
Is retention important to your brokerage? Of course it is. That's why at IFS, we have a cancellation prevention process. Want more details? Give us a call. I know you don't always use a premium finance company, but when you do, you should use IFS. Cheers.